you will have definitely seen the conversation happening online right now, and probably in person as well, about Mark Noble, right? I've been in those conversations. It's Mark Noble should be dropped. Mark Noble isn't good enough. No more Mark Noble. And that, I think, mainly comes from the fact he's had some notable less than stellar performances recently. And I think is also amplified by just the existence and emergence of Souček. Now, what tends to happen, you'll see it, definitely in the comments below this video, is Souček should be playing. No more Noble, Souček in. Souček bigger than symbol Noble, which is obviously physically true, but that's beside the point. And the thing I think we all forget, and it's something we all do as football fans, is we obsess and fixate on the idea of our strongest 11, right? And it makes sense. Like, it's an easy way to rate your team against another team. Like, you look at what's our strongest 11 and what's Leicester's strongest 11. Who's better? What's our strongest 11 and what's, I don't know, Man United's strongest 11. Who's better? It's an easy way to rank yourself. It's an easy way to figure out where are you at as a club. But the thing I think we forget about it is there are very few teams who can play that strongest 11, the exact same tactics, the exact same way, against every single opposition. You know, Pep's Guardiola did it. Pep's Barca did it. Bayern Munich can do it now. PSG can do it now. And that's because they're so ridiculously dominant. But if you think about, say, Liverpool, one of the things that I think's been most impressive about their season is they've been super, super dominant, but they've also changed it up when they've had to. Sometimes they will do something a bit different. Sometimes they'll play it a bit different. If you look at the way they face, I don't know, two different teams who have two different styles, they will dominate them both and outdo them both, but in different ways. Look at, say, Firmino and Origi, right? That is their first choice striker and their second choice striker. And I think in some circumstances we think about, oh, okay, well, they're basically the same, but they're not. They're fundamentally different players. Like, Firmino is that more false nine type. He can drop off, he can get involved in the link-up play, he can create a bit more, whereas Origi is a bit more of that, like, Van Nistelrooy type. I don't know why Van Nistelrooy is the guy who came into my head, but, like, you know what I mean? That sort of goal hanger, goal poacher type thing. Finisher. That's not to say that Firmino can't do that sort of finisher, pure finisher role, and that's not to say that Origi can't do that drop-off, link-up play type stuff. But that's their natural thing, right? They are fundamentally different. A good example of that at West Ham is Antonio and Anderson, right? Anderson is a bit more cutesy. He will try and find the pass. He will try and be a bit smarter with the pass. He's going to try and lay people in. He's going to try and get an assist. We all know he has it in him to strike one outside of the box, top bin, swerve it in, major techers, big boy whaps. We know he can do it, but how often does he do it? Not often enough. Certainly not at the moment. Perhaps that's a confidence thing. But certainly at the moment he's not doing it enough. He will try and assist. He will try and get involved. He will try and bring other people in. Whereas Antonio, bull in a china shop forward. He's as forward as the day is long. He gets the ball, he's turning at the goal, and he is going at it. He's progressing. The first thought in his mind is not, what can I do to bring someone else in? The first thought in his mind isn't, how can I find someone else? His first thought is, where's the goal? I'm going for it. I'm finding that goal. He's zeroing in it, homing missile, homing pigeon. He's woof. No messing. They both even do the same stuff sometimes. Like, you know that little thing where there's a defender and they're slightly standing off, maybe backing away slightly as Anderson and Antonio are going towards them. And then the defender will take a slight step, like a bit of a misstep or a step towards them, and then woof, they kick it long and then go chase after it. They'll run after it. They won't dribble past him, they'll kick it past him and then find it on the other side. They both do that quite frequently. But that's the fundamental difference between those two players, right? Anderson, the playmaker, Antonio, the forward. And against Arsenal, for example, I wanted Antonio off the pitch at halftime. I thought he was playing really bad. I thought he was a detriment to us. That's not a criticism of him as a footballer. Sometimes these things just happen, right? Players have bad days. I think nothing was going right for him, and he was running off the pitch. His passes were wayward. It just wasn't happening for him. And so my brain went, I would sub Antonio off at this point. I would take him off and I'd put someone else on. And then I looked at the bench and I realised the only person who can really play that role was Anderson. And again, I really like Anderson a lot. I'll defend him a hell of a lot. And I think actually, if you asked me who would I want to see start more times over the course of a season, Anderson or Antonio, I would say Anderson. But he's a different type of player. And I think one of the things that was most important in that game and the preceding games was the balance of that front three, Bowen, Halle, Antonio. And I think it works because Bowen and Antonio sort of have that gung-ho, go-at-it nature, and Halle has that sort of drop a bit deep, try to bring other people into play. He's not going to make a darting run round the back. Like, actually, occasionally he has sort of tried to make those runs and people just haven't found him, but that's beside the point. That's not his style of play, right? And I think that's why that works. You have that balance. And bringing on Anderson, although I think he is a better footballer than Antonio, would ruin that balance and the team would be worse for it. And therefore Antonio played, right? And that's the thing with Noble, is we're not going to play every single game with the exact same midfield three, right? As much as I want in my head, I go, what's the strongest midfield three? We have Rice, Souček, Fornals. That's not going to play every game. There are going to be games where we need to have maybe a slightly more defensive minded one. There might be a game where we need a slightly more offensive minded one. Noble and Souček are very similar. When I look at Souček, I think, do you know what, he could be the long-term replacement for Noble, and Noble is certainly at the stage of his career where he should start to be phased out. I love him dearly. What a man. Excellent individual. But he's just at the stage of an athlete where he just loses his legs. He's at the Zaba stage where he's just lost his legs, he can't run back, and that becomes detrimental to the team. Even when he's having his best games, and he's had some of his best games this year, those games where every pass is coming off, he's outside the boot flicking passes through like whack, 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 like no messing, right? And he has had some of those games this year, and he's ridiculously effective when he is in the right role in those games. But the second he gets a bit too far forward, if he is caught out of position, be it because he loses possession, his pass is a bit wayward, or someone else loses possession and he's too far, he can't make it back anymore. And it's a shame because he used to be brilliant at it. He used to have this endless engine where he would just go back, forward, back, forward, back, forward. He'd do it all the time, but he doesn't have that anymore. So he has to play deeper, but that doesn't mean we can't also have Souček in the team. That doesn't mean he no longer has a role. That doesn't mean he's second choice or anything like that. We're West Ham. We sort of have to be realistic that we're going to have to change tactics against teams. We're going to have to do stuff a bit different from time to time. And I'm not even talking about on the most basic level of facing Liverpool and facing Southampton. I'm talking about like facing, I don't know, Southampton and facing Aston Villa. Like teams who are in similar situations, facing Newcastle or facing Bournemouth. Like, I'm not even talking, that's the level I'm talking about. Sometimes you look at a team, you go, that's their deficiency, we're going to have to change our style, or that's their strength, we're going to have to change our style. Noble automatically starts for me in specific games, right? Tottenham, he would start for, an example. I don't know if we face Tottenham again this year. It's 2:27 in the morning. I can't remember. I'm very tired. But a game like Tottenham, for example, he would automatically start for me because he has that drive, he has that passion, he comes out in those games brilliantly usually. But in the more nitty-gritty games, there's going to be times where maybe we do play both. Do we play Rice, Souček and Noble? God forbid if Rice gets injured, do we play Noble, Souček and Fornals, or Noble, Souček and Snodgrass? Like, these are questions we have to look at. So when we have this conversation about Noble shouldn't start because of Souček and all of this stuff, I think we need to be realistic and we need to remember things. We need to remember Noble's positives. We need to remember the performances he's capable of putting in on the pitch. Because when he's at his best, he is brilliant. Legitimately brilliant. But it's just a case of making sure that A, he's constantly playing deeper. He can't go forward. That's not him anymore. If we're looking for someone, if we only have one space for the role of midfielder who's playing alongside Rice, who can get a bit forward, Souček every time. Not even a Souček or Snodgrass, I guess. Every single time, without fail. But Noble is still vital to the team, and he will be vital for the team in certain games, especially in a relegation run. Especially in a relegation run. You can't start dropping out people like Noble when you're in a relegation fight, because let's be real, there are very few football players in that team who will fight as much as Mark Noble will.